So, Tokyo Xtreme Racer has been out for a little over a week here in the US, and just like the almost 10,000 players the game seems to be averaging, I can't get enough. I'll be honest, it's really growing on me. I love how casual it is. I can throw on an hour-long true crime YouTube video or something similar and just cruise. And honestly, it's been hard to put down, and it's been my go-to when I'm just looking for something simple to play that doesn't really require a lot of brain power. Genki has done a great job so far with TXR, and I'm happy to report to you it's only getting better. There's been plenty of tweaks brought to you in this update that has only helped solidify TXR as a great game, and today I'm going to go through them with you guys. So, what's new with TXR? Well, as we could see by the Steam changelog, they've added in the name of the rival's vehicle to their health bar while you're racing them. This makes it easier to identify what they're driving. This can come in handy because if you find yourself looking for a new set of wheels and you're consistently being beaten by a certain model, you now have a pretty good recommendation on what your next car should be. They've also added in a new autopilot indicator, and for those of you who aren't really familiar, if you press the down button on your D-pad, your car will cruise along automatically at the, well, admittedly laughable speed limit of the NPC traffic. It's a pretty useless feature in all honesty, but I'm not going to scoff at minor quality of life changes like this, especially this early on in the game's life. You can also now change from automatic to manual transmission and vice versa during gameplay from the pause menu, eliminating the need to go to your garage or find a parking lot in order to do so. I'm not exactly sure why this wasn't a feature from the get-go, but I'm glad to see it. The rear view mirror can now be seen in the hood and bumper views, something that couldn't be done before, which is nice if you don't want to be constantly looking behind you while you're driving. This next one is a big one for me, the ability to adjust how much the camera shakes while you're driving at high speed. It's a cool effect, but sometimes it can be a bit distracting, and I'm glad Genki added in the ability to either increase or decrease the amount of camera shake, as well as shut it off completely if you don't want it at all. The final new feature is the addition of thumbnail images of the cars in the machine tab of the perk tree. If you're unfamiliar with a lot of Japanese cars and you don't want to waste your perk points unlocking a new vehicle you don't particularly want or know about, being able to see what you're buying before you buy it is obviously a great feature. They've also changed and tweaked quite a few things with this update patch, adjusting things such as the difficulty of certain drivers in order to make the game feel a bit more fair, which was one of my criticisms in my review I posted a few days ago. For example, Melancholic Angel, who, as of writing this, I haven't yet faced, has been made a bit easier and weaker, which I hope to see with a few more drivers due to the way the progression in the game is attained. In fact, I hope at some point in the future Genki adds in difficulty modes altogether, though I'm not sure if that'll ever happen because I can't speak on whether the older games had this at all. They've also reviewed the AI of some rivals, which is nice. I've definitely noticed drivers don't seem to be as adamant on slamming into me and grinding me into the guardrails now that I've read this whole thing in the patch notes, which is a nice change of pace because that gets really annoying. One of the biggest improvements has been made to the game's automatic transmission, where before it was practically useless, which is something I didn't really consider when I reviewed the game that would add to the difficulty because my car would still short shift and most of the time wouldn't come anywhere close to redlining. While I still think playing in manual is the way to go, it's nice to see it isn't a necessity for those of you who don't want to worry about changing your own gears, though I'd still recommend it. The traffic density has also allegedly been adjusted to reflect which day of the week it is, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But in theory, for example, you're going to see much more traffic on a Friday or a Saturday night as opposed to early morning on a Tuesday. I don't really see this as a big difference because the roads in the game never really feel as congested as they could be. But it's a minor tweak and it makes sense because that's how traffic is in real life. You're not going to run into as many people driving during times people would be sleeping because most people would have work the next day. It makes sense. There have also been just a lot of minor bug fixes, most of these having to do with patching out little bugs and performance issues, though personally I haven't really run into many of the bugs listed, or they're so minor I didn't really notice them during my playtime. Here's the full list of bug fixes on the screen for you, so go ahead and pause if you want to read more. I'll also have a link to the patch notes in the description. If you haven't checked TXR out yet, I can only recommend it more and more as the days go by. I hope Genki continues to make TXR one of the best single-player racing experiences we've had in a long time, and this journey is only at its beginning. Thank you guys, and drive safe.